We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News New York. I'd like to talk to you about your favorite topic, SALT, and which, as we need to explain to our viewers, what it means is the deductibility of state and local taxes from your taxes, and it affects people who have to pay high real estate taxes. You have fought forever to try to get it reinstated since President Trump did it. What are you going to do in Congress when right now Republicans don't want to do it?
This is a body blow to New Yorkers that they took away our state and local tax deduction and capped it at $10,000. I passed it 3 times through the House. I built a national coalition of Democrats and Republicans, governors, mayors, firefighters, teachers. I built a coalition that, despite enormous Republican opposition and opposition from some of the progressives in my party, we still passed it 3 times through the House. We couldn't get it through the Senate. I'm a little smarter now. I'm a little more experienced now. I'll be more senior if I go back to Congress. I'll get it through the Senate as well. I know how to build the coalitions and get it done. The state and local tax deduction cap that Trump put in place, $10,000, expires in 2025. I'm going to be there in Congress and make sure that we get it back.
But here's the question I have for you. So you have a situation where it's a big issue, not only for you, but for the freshman Republicans from Long Island and upstate who hope to get reelected in November. And I noticed that they've recently gone together and had a press conference to say, we need to repeal SALT, because they say that they can't get reelected without SALT as well. So if that's the case, and it's so important to these Republicans who are so dear to the Republican Party and keeping control in Congress, why can't they get it passed? What is going on?
Because they're ineffective and they haven't done their job. They haven't done the work that's necessary. Everybody thinks politics these days is about doing a tweet or doing a press conference or saying something for theater purposes. You got to do the hard work to build relationships with members of your own party and people across the aisle, with the executive branch, with the legislative branch. You got to build it with state and local governments in this issue all over the country. You can't, this is not a matter of doing a press conference. This is hard work over years to get something like this done. And they have not done the work. They've been there for 13 months. They've never even gotten a bill introduced on the floor. I was there. I passed it 3 times to get this thing back. Now, I didn't get it through the Senate, but I'm going to get it through the Senate if I get back.
But Mike Lawler and Mark Molinaro are both members of the Common Sense Caucus that
Problem Solvers
Caucus that you were part of. And yet they have been unable to get a bipartisan agreement to get it passed. And you would think, given the fact that they're so close in terms of how many Republicans and Democrats are in the House, that they should be able to come up with a coalition to pass this bill.
Let me make something very clear, because the Republicans are totally opposed to it, and they haven't talked to the Democrats because they just use Republican talk points like my opponent does in this race.
If they think that they have to help these people get reelected from New York, why aren't they helping them?
They're not doing it. They don't care enough. They don't like New York and the rest of the country. That's why we have to be effective in fighting for New York. My opponent in this race is using just the Republican talk points. She just had the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, come out to her district, a very far right-wing guy. That's who her campaign is based upon. People that voted to make the SALT cap permanent. People that are against choice. People that are against solving any of the problems that we face here in New York. On a regular basis, they're always working. They're against the infrastructure bill. I mean, as hard as that is to imagine. So, and my opponent is teaming up with them, not with the problem solvers.
So here's the other question. If President Trump, former President Trump, were to get reelected, would he then try to reimpose SALT after it expires in 2025? And if you were in Congress, what would you be able to do about it?
He would absolutely try and reimpose it. Wait, let me just make this clear. President Trump says, yeah, I know this is going to hurt New York, and I know it's going to hurt California, it's going to hurt Illinois, and it's going to hurt Massachusetts, but I don't care because they didn't vote for me anyway. And that's why he gave a real sticking to New York when he was president, along with the Republican Congress. What could I do differently?
If he's the president, if he were to get reelected, you're going to be frustrated again.
I passed bills when I was in the minority. I passed bills to get things in my district, to clean up the Navy Grumman Plume, to bring more money in for the Long Island Sound cleanup. I brought money in to fix up the Northport VA because I got the chairman, a Republican, to come out to my district because I met him at the prayer breakfast where he was playing the guitar. I know how to get things done in politics. I know how to get things done in government to serve the people. Forget about all the party labels. Let's serve the people. And if Trump is the president and I'm in the Congress, I'll build a coalition. Last time they rammed it through within 6 months. If I go back into office now, I'll have the time to build a coalition where I'll get the Real Estate Board of New York, and I'll get other real estate groups throughout the United States of America, and I'll get all the firefighters and the teachers and the governors and the mayors to work together to make sure that Trump will pay a political price, or any president will pay a political price, if they don't help us get the state and local tax deduction back.
So let's talk about your opponent, Mazi Pilip, who has refused numerous invitations to appear not only on this show, but on almost every other show. She's agreed to one debate on News 12 Long Island, and that's it.
Doesn't even show in Queens.
I mean, but the question is this. How is that acceptable when it's a hard-fought race? What's the strategy, and is this a strategy that's helping her?
In addition to being a hard-fought race, this is in the aftermath of George Santos. How can you, in the aftermath of George Santos, not be completely transparent? Tell everybody where you stand on the issues. Let them hear you debate. Let them hear what your ideas are. She's given no specifics. She refuses to debate. She doesn't do even town hall meetings. She takes no questions from the public. She only does rehearsed rallies with her handlers from the Republican Party. She's unprepared, she's unvetted, and she'll make things worse.
But given the fact that the Republicans have demonstrated a very good ground game in Long Island in terms of getting people to the polls, unlike some Democratic candidates, I know you're right about that. I mean, so given the fact that they have a good ground game, almost every elected office in all of Long Island has gone red. Is this a good strategy for her? Because let's face it, you know, you're an experienced politician, well-spoken, you know the issues. Maybe she's just afraid to come talk to you.
Listen, I got to say very clearly, straight to the people there, if you want to see change in this country, if you want to see people work across party lines, if you want to see people solve problems, and you're sick and tired of the game in Washington, D.C., with everybody relying on their talk points and they're attacking each other, then I need you to help me in this race, because they do have a big ground game out there. I need you to be part of my ground game and to help me win this race.
So you do call her a MAGA Republican, but we should set the record straight and point out that she's still a registered Democrat. Will that help her get some votes from the Democrats, people in your own party?
I want to make it very clear that I never called her a MAGA Republican. That was done by the Washington, D.C. guys, and I didn't like that commercial at all.
Why not?
Because I just don't think it's too simplistic. I'm sick of the simplicity and the attacking. I don't like that type of politics. I like the idea that you talk about ideas and how to solve problems and make people's lives better. They're concerned about the cost of living. They're concerned about immigration. They're even concerned about the weather, climate change. Remember the smoke that came down from Canada last year?
I do.
What if that went on for 2 months? What would we do about it? They're concerned about Israel. They're concerned about Ukraine and Putin. Is Putin really trying to do what Hitler did, take over the country next door and beat them and then go to the next country and the next country? These are serious, real problems. These cannot be solved with just these, tweets. You have to do the work and you have to have the experience to get things done. I have the experience. My opponent doesn't. I'll be bipartisan. She won't be bipartisan. I will meet the public. I'll talk to the press. I'll be out in public. She won't do any of those things.
Another issue that came up when I was talking to voters in your district was abortion and women's rights and the right to choose. She, your opponent, says that she is against a national ban on abortion.
Okay, she also says she's pro-life. She also says that she supports the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, that it was right to send it back to the states the way that they did. She's being very clever with the Republican handlers. Somebody, please ask her, from the ladies and gentlemen of the press, after being burnt by George Santos and his phony baloney, ask her, make her answer. Will you work to codify Roe versus Wade? Will you make it law in America that women have the right to determine their own bodily freedom, that they have reproductive freedom? She hasn't answered that question. She said very clearly, I'm pro-life. She's on the conservative party line in New York, and in New York, that's a pretty scary thing. And she says she supports the Supreme Court's decision. So we can't fall for this. Let me tell you one other thing. On assault weapons, okay? They said, how do you feel about assault weapons? She said, I don't think anybody should have an automatic weapon. Oh, great. Automatic weapons have been outlawed in the United States of America since 1986. It's semi-automatic weapons. It's AR-15s that are the problem. The AR-15 assault weapons are the things that are killing the kids at our schools, that are killing people in these mass murders. But she never gets pushed because she doesn't debate and she doesn't do press conferences. Ask her. Do you favor a assault weapons ban on semi-automatic AR-15s or not? Remember, George Santos used to wear a pin with the AR-15 on his shirt. I mean, come on. This is what How can it be that after George Santos, this woman is not being held accountable for what her positions are? They're counting on a short race, a strong ground game, and tricking the people and not talking about the issues. I'm pro-choice. She's not pro-choice. I got a F rating from the NRA. She is doing the NRA talk points on a regular basis. Immigration, she says immigration's bad. Well, I think immigration's bad too, but I'm working on trying to do a bipartisan solution to try and fix the problems. I'm out in public talking to people. She's hiding in the basement. So people have got to make their decision. I'm all hyped up now.
Last question. This is the last question. So this is a district that's been whiplashed, I guess is the best word, by the George Santos saga. In your opinion, what has been the effect in your district? And do you feel that people are looking at you in a different way because of George Santos? And should they be looking at your opponent in a different way because of George Santos? You
know, I wouldn't have even brought up George Santos in this race because I think people are sick of it and they've had it and it's over and it's yesterday. But in this poor post-George Santos world, the fact that she's not being transparent, that there was a New York Times story and a Newsday story about her finances, that her financial disclosures had problems in them.
Well, she didn't report $250,000 in income and in money she owed it to the
IRS. She said she owed $250. She said, oh, it wasn't $250,000. It was only $180,000. It wasn't that much. Huh? I mean, so come on. So how can you in this post-George Santos world not be held accountable for what your positions are? So I don't think anybody wants George Santos 2.0. We've lost representation for the past year and 1 month, whatever it is, 13 months. Let's send somebody to Washington who can hit the ground running, who has the relationships, will have a senior position, will get back onto the Ways and Means Committee, and will be able to bring money back to the district and solve problems, and will be part of the people that negotiate bipartisan solutions.
So are you saying that Mazi Pilip is George Santos 2.0? You said it.
It's fine with me. You can say that too.
You said it.
I will say it. We don't know anything about her. How can we, if she won't even go on your show? Everybody wants to be on Marcia Kramer's show. Why won't she come on your show, Marcia? Is she afraid of you? Why won't she debate me? Is she afraid of me? She was asked, who did you vote for president in 2016 and 2020? She said, that's a personal decision. You're running for the United States Congress. You're not going to tell us what your position is on who you voted for president? I don't understand that.
Okay, on that note, thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining us.